like to now introduce our keynote speaker, Chike Akua. Is a 1992 graduate of Hampton University and a 2003 graduate of Clark Atlanta University with over 14 years of classroom teaching experience. Mr. Akua has distinguished himself as an educator, lecturer, and author. In 1995, he was selected as a Teacher of the Year for Newport News, Virginia Public Schools. In 1996, the DeKalb County Board of Education in Atlanta, Georgia, awarded him the Achievement Award for teaching excellence in service to youth. Selected as one of Ebony's magazine's 50 Leaders of Tomorrow in 1995, Akua has facilitated youth workshops for the Tavis Smiley Foundation's annual Youth to Leaders conference. In addition, Mr. Akua has assisted in leading over 500 youth and adults on study tours to Egypt and Ghana through the Desert Club, through the Desert Club's Teen Summit 1000 program. As a consultant and curriculum designer with Imani Enterprises, Akua has authored several books, and they are listed in your program. I just want to say that Chike Akua comes to us in the tradition of people like Dr. Charles Finch, who has spoken here at Tuskegee. I think he was here just a few years ago, who works at Morehouse School of Medicine. Dr. Asa Hilliard, who recently transitioned just maybe less than a month ago, a renowned educator, philosopher, and psychologist. Jacob Carruthers, an African-centered educator. George James, who wrote Stolen Legacy. John G. Jackson, Introduction to African Civilizations. And I want to mention Chancellor Williams, The Destruction of Black Civilization. These are all great books that all of us should have in our libraries and should read. So, with that, I bring to you Chike Akua.
I think the best place to begin is always at the beginning. And so one of the things we want to do is we want to begin by giving honor to the Most High, who is known by many names and worshipped in many ways, certainly the one source and the one force through which we all live, move, and have our being. We also give honor to our ancestors, for there's an African proverb which says, if we stand tall, it is because we stand on the shoulders of our ancestors. Or as Dr. Jacob Carruthers has said, indeed our stride is wide because we're walking in the footsteps of giants. I've taken a little bit of liberty and license to change my topic just a little bit. I see here that it says on the program, Ancient African Origins of Science. I changed it and added a little bit to it. And I changed it, and I want to call it African Sacred Science and Civilization, the technology of transformation. Now, as I look at my watch, I know that the watch on my wrist and the clock on the wall cannot help us to tell cosmic time, nor can it help us to discern the signs of the time. Is that right? And so, given the topic that we're dealing with at this conference, dealing with health disparities, I'm reminded of the remarks of a renowned African scholar by the name of Dr. Benjamin E. Mays. He said, it's really 11:59 on the clock of destiny, and you've only got a minute. Only 60 seconds in it. Forced upon you, can't refuse it. Didn't seek it, didn't choose it, but it's up to you to use it. You'll suffer if you lose it. Give account if you abuse it. It's only a minute, but eternity is in it. And with that minute, you, me, and we can change and transform the world. Do you agree? Yes. Yes. So if you agree, I'd like for you to say Ashe. Ashe. Wonderful. This is going to be less of a speech and more of an experience. And one of the things that I like for us to do is to not make this a monologue, but a dialogue. Ashe? Ashe. So the word Ashe comes from the west coast of Africa among the Tweet, and it simply means I agree. It means let it be so. But it also represents the presence and the activating energy of the sacred spirit that is both within us and around us at all times. Ashe? And so this is going to be an interactive presentation. When I make a statement or make a point about something that I feel is very important, I'm going to use that word and I would like for you to say it back to me. Ashe? All right, so as we go forward, I mentioned that we want to honor our ancestors because, as Dr. Jacob Carruthers has said, indeed our stride is wide, because we're walking in the footsteps of giants. And as I began to think about the fact that I was neither a medical doctor or medical researcher or practitioner, I was then reminded, well, Chike, you're supposed to be here, because don't forget, Dad went to Meharry Medical School. And Mom graduated from Freedman's Hospital in nurses training at Howard University. And so it's amazing how the spirit of the ancestors and the spirit of the Most High will move you and push you and pull you in the direction that you're supposed to go. Ashe? Even when you don't know where you're supposed to be, you're in the right place at the right time. Ashe? And so as we view this presentation, I'm going to ask you to view it with more than just your physical eyes, but with what our ancestors called the Ujat. Would you say Ujat, please? Ujat is the third eye, the eye of all-seeing enlightenment. That's the great African-American poet by the name of Mr. Middleton that says, sharpen your eyes and tune your ear, so you know what you see and understand what you hear. Ashe? So as we go forward, we have to prepare our hearts, our souls, our minds, and our bodies and spirits to receive this message that we're about to put forth. If you're ready, say, let's do this. Oh, I know some of y'all a little too articulate. It's just us in here. I didn't say let's do this. If y'all ready to get started, say let's do this. All right, we're ready to get started. Okay. Well, we all know by now that Africa is the motherland, the birthplace of humanity. There's so many different disciplines that show us this, whether you're talking about historically, whether you're talking about anthropologically, genetically. All the different disciplines bear witness to the fact that all life on planet Earth began in the motherland in Africa. And we also know from our studies that it began in the Nile Valley region. If you look at the red arrow on the screen, you can see that the Nile Valley region is in this area. And it started, all life on this planet began in that area. Now the river valleys are very, very important, because we're taught that these civilizations sprung up in the river valleys because the river valleys help with transportation, irrigation for crops, communication, and civilization. Ashe? And so as we go a little further, one of the things that we find out is that one of the original names for Africa was Alkebulan. Everybody say Alkebulan. And Alkebulan means land of the spirit people. Now I'm going to be sharing original names with you to the best of my ability, because the original names tell the whole story. Ashe? So Alkebulan means land of the spirit people. The country that we today call Sudan in ancient times was called Nubia. Everybody say Nubia. It was also referred to as Tasseti. Everybody say Tasseti. It means the land of the bow. And then the present day, what we call Ethiopia in ancient times, is called Kush. Everybody say Kush. And then also, we have what today is called Egypt in ancient times was called Kemet. Everybody say Kemet. Now, interestingly enough, the land south of the Nile in ancient times was referred to as Ta-Kensit. Everybody say Ta-Kensit. Now, this is important because Ta-Kensit means placenta land. That was our ancestors' way of saying that they didn't evolve from out of North Africa. They came from deep down south. Ashe? We also have Ta-Neter, which is on the Horn of Africa, which today, well, in biblical times, they called it Punt. And today we call it Somalia. But Ta-Neter means land of God. Do you see a spiritual tie between all of these things? It is very clear, and it's very important that we not separate the spiritual from the material. Ashe? That we not separate the sacred from the secular. Ashe? That is a Western cultural construct and concept that has nothing to do with your African reality. Ashe? And so we have to be careful, because if we're not careful,